some things out with your sincerity. But as soon as you are sincere, he will respond. Right? He's not going to delay any response for any other reason than the law measures you as being insincere. So this is the thing you need to bear in mind in your relationship with God, is that unless I am getting a response, then I've got to look strongly at my lack of sincerity. And particularly look at, am I asking things of God that I want a certain answer, and I know what I want. I want the answer to be yes on that one or no on that one. Do you know what I mean? I've already determined in my own mind what I want the answer to be. Is that how it is? Because if that is how it is, then you're not going to get very many answers except where your question is in agreement with God's. Yeah.
Could it be that I ask a question to God where I am sincere, but still not able to feel an answer?
No, this is the thing about sincerity, Ulf. When you're sincere, it automatically opens you to your feelings. In fact, you can't be sincere without your feelings being involved. So the answer to that question is actually no. If you're not receiving a response, it's not because you're not sensitive enough. It's because your question was not sincere. Because if it was sincere, your emotions would have been involved, and therefore you would have been sensitive enough to receive a response. Yeah? And you can see this a lot with the expression of love if you think about it. When a person's quite insincere in their expression of love, they might say the words "I love you" or whatever, but their actions are completely devoid of any feelings that motivate them to demonstrate that love to you in one way or the other. Make sense? True sincerity opens your heart to the response. That's why the law requires sincerity. God knows that it's pointless giving you a response if you're not sincere, because your heart's not open to the response. The reason why the law is working like it works is when you are sincere, your heart becomes open to receiving. Make sense? Now, when God gives you the response, you are now able to feel and receive that response. But when you're insincere, your heart is closed. So if God tried to respond, what would happen? It would be like bouncing off a brick wall. Nothing would enter you anyway. There's no point in responding to the insincerity because nothing's going to enter. You follow? So when it comes to your relationship with God, the reason why the law requires sincerity is because sincerity is what opens your heart to receive. If the law just said, no, sincerity is not required, then when you asked for something and your heart was closed, you imagine God would be sharing with all these people whose hearts are closed, and all this energy would be going out, but it would be going nowhere. So that's not how God works with his soul. And by the way, he recommends you don't work that way with yours either. It's interesting. And this is an interesting fact about love, just natural love. God recommends that you share your love with the people who are open to receiving it. Makes sense? Yeah. Because if you share it with the people who are not open to receiving it, then they're probably not going to receive it. Yeah. Now, of course, a lot of times there is openness in an individual in a moment that then closes in another moment. Isn't it? Like, sometimes that happens too, doesn't it? Where a person has an emotional thing going on, they start to feel some things, all of a sudden they're sincere, they might ask a question, and you start sharing, and initially they're receiving it because their heart is now open. But then I've sometimes noticed people just, the more they're getting, the harder it's getting to receive it, and their sincerity starts closing down again. And then by the time that's closed, you've got to stop. Because nothing's going to go in now. Right? So I often feel it's sort of like an empty bottle of water, an empty bottle. and let's say the response is the water. Now, of course, if the lid's on, it's going to go everywhere but in the bottle, isn't it? Yeah? And if our soul is the bottle, it requires the lid to be off. And sincerity is what gets the lid off.